Recep Tayyip Erdogan has won the Turkey presidential runoff elections. Erdogan grabbed 52.14% of the votes and his opponent Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu received 47.86%. This victory extends Erdogan's 20-year rule for 5 more years. After his victory, Erdogan greeted his supporters at the presidential palace and thanked them. During his victory speech, Erdogan said that inflation was the most urgent issue for the country. He also said it was time to unite around Turkey's national hopes and dreams. With days left to spare before a potential first-ever government default, U.S. President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy have finally reached a tentative deal to raise the nation's debt ceiling, while trying to ensure that enough Republicans and Democrats vote to pass the measure this week. U.S. President Joe Biden says that a final bipartisan deal to raise the U.S. debt ceiling will now head to the Congress, while U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said that a majority of his fellow Republicans would support the deal to suspend $31.4 trillion debt ceiling that he negotiated over the weekend with Biden. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko has mysteriously fallen critically ill following his meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. While the cause of his declining health is yet to be identified, Lukashenko's political rival has now pointed a finger at the Kremlin, alleging the leader has been poisoned. The Belarusian president was rushed to a hospital in Moscow and is currently said to be in critical condition. Russia unleashed waves of airstrikes on Kyiv overnight in what Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called the largest drone attack in the city. Ukrainian military said it had downed 58 of the 59 launched drones described by the Air Force as a record assault with the Iranian-made kamikaze drones. President Volodymyr Zelensky said all 36 drones targeting Kyiv had been destroyed. The attacks came on the last Sunday of May, when the capital celebrates Kyiv Day, the anniversary of its official founding 1,541 years ago. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has put forward a bill that would see Ukraine impose sanctions on Russian ally Iran for 50 years, according to Zelensky's chief of staff. Kyiv and its allies say Iran has been supplying Russia with arms, including hundreds of drones, since Moscow invaded Ukraine last year. Tehran rejects the allegations. If passed by Ukraine's parliament, the bill would stop Iranian goods transiting through Ukraine and use of its airspace, as well as impose trade, financial and technology sanctions against Iran and its citizens. Japan has said that it is preparing to destroy any North Korean missiles that threaten its territory. After Pyongyang announced a planned launch of what it said was a satellite, Japan's chief cabinet secretary said that the defense ministry had issued orders to prepare to destroy North Korean missiles and that preparations were underway to deploy PAC-3 missile units to Okinawa. South Korea is set to host the inaugural Korea-Pacific Island Summit today. Threats posed by climate change will headline the agenda during the summit. This is the third summit in a week which the 18-member Pacific bloc is participating. The leaders of the Pacific Island nations will be meeting the South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol in Seoul. The meeting comes as the region is seeking a stronger action against climate change. The nations in the region are facing the threat of rising water levels due to soaring temperatures. The Pacific Islands span 40 million square kilometers between America and Asia. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has arrived in Brazilian capital to attend a meeting of the Union of South American Nations. The regional summit on Tuesday has been organized by Brazilian President Lula da Silva in a bid to revive the UNASAR bloc. The bloc was set up a decade ago to counter U.S. sway in the region. Other countries expected to attend the regional meeting include Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Paraguay, Uruguay, Guyana, and Suriname. Oman's Sultan, Haitham bin Tariq Al Said, met with Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi in Tehran on Sunday. He arrived for a two-day visit expected to focus on regional diplomatic and security issues. The visit comes 2 days after Oman mediated a prisoner swap between Iran and Belgium. Oman has long been a dialogue partner for the West with Iran and has mediated the release of several foreign citizens and dual nationals. Fresh violence erupted in India's northeastern state of Manipur ahead of Indian Home Minister's visit. State's Chief Minister has said as many as 40 terrorists have been killed so far by security forces. The state bordering Myanmar has witnessed growing tension in recent weeks, with rioting and ethnic clashes killing at least 60 people and displacing 35,000. The violence began when tribal groups clashed with ethnic majority Meitei people, a non-tribal group, over economic benefits and quotas given to the tribes. A group of some 30 migrants seeking asylum, including small children, have been stuck at Poland's border wall with Belarus for 3 days. According to Polish human rights activists, they say that several migrants are sick and the children have mosquito bites. A representative of Poland's ombudsman's office visited and talked to the migrants, but later told reporters that the decision about whether to allow them into the country belongs to the Polish border guard. Relatives of those killed in the Irish Civil War attended a commemoration event in Dublin on Sunday. They marked 100 years since the conflict ended. The Prime Minister and his deputy laid a wreath in the Garden of Remembrance. The Civil War, which divided friends, families and towns across the country, began on the 28th of June 1922 and ended on the 24th of May 1923. About 2,000 people are estimated to have died in the war. Several thousand demonstrators marched in the Mexican capital on Sunday in support of the Supreme Court of Justice. In recent weeks, the country's Supreme Court has been the target of harsh criticism and protests after invalidating 3 regulations promoted by the country's president. This has raised tensions between the executive and the judiciary. A search for 4 indigenous children who were on a small plane that crashed in the Amazon jungle this month continued over the weekend. The 3 adults aboard died during the crash on May 1st when the plane, with total 6 passengers and a pilot, declared an emergency due to an engine failure. Colombian troops found the wreckage along with the bodies of the pilot, a guide and the children's mother, but there was no sign of the youngsters. Prolonged fighting in Nigeria between farmers and herdsmen is becoming more deadly. More than 100 people have been killed in the violence that began in March this year. The attacks are emblematic of the security crisis in the northwest and central regions of the West African nation. At least 2,600 people were killed in 2021 due to the clashes, and that's according to reports. Once armed with sticks, the groups now fight with guns that are being smuggled into the country. Both sides accuse the government of injustice and marginalization. A massive wildfire engulfed eastern Canada's Nova Scotia province on Sunday. The local government has issued emergency alerts and multiple evacuation orders. At least 10 houses have been burned by the wildfires. The wildfires have been raging in multiple areas in Canada for the past few weeks. Water in the main canal of the Italian city of Venice turned fluorescent green before flowing out in the lagoon and coloring parts of that too. The Regional Environment Protection Agency has received samples of the water and is working to identify what substance may have caused the color to change. Though no one has claimed responsibility for the green-colored water, the incident is reminiscent of protests by environmental groups who have colored monuments and recently used vegetable charcoal to blacken the water in Rome's Trevi fountain, calling for an end to state subsidies of fossil fuel. China will launch a new spaceship on Tuesday to send 3 astronauts to its space station. Spokesperson of the China Manned Space Agency told a press conference that the spaceship is targeted to launch off Northwest Jiuquan Launching Center. He said the astronauts will carry out crew rotation with the current 3 astronauts in the space in a series of experiments and also space activities. Berlin on Sunday basked in warm sunshine and festival vibes as the city marked Carnival of Cultures, which has returned after a 3-year corona hiatus. The Intercultural Carnival has been a regular and annual event since 1996. The parade aims to provide a space for communities to represent their cultural roots through dance, music, or other forms of expression. Thousands took part to display the cultural richness of Berlin. Thousands of Chileans on Sunday took to the streets to celebrate Heritage Day, a day dedicated to the appreciation and preservation of Chile's cultural wealth. It is an annual celebration organized by the Ministry of Culture, Arts and Heritage, which seeks to promote citizen enjoyment, knowledge and reflection on heritage in Chile. Numerous activities were carried out that allowed citizens to discover and even enjoy the historical and architectural diversity of the nation. Jerusalem's Tower of David, the old city's iconic fortress, is once again open to public with new exhibits. It was closed for 3 years to undergo renovations. The fortress contains remnants of successive fortifications built one atop the other, stretching back over 2,500 years. For centuries, pilgrims, conquerors and tourists visiting the city that is holy to Judaism, Christianity and Islam are passed beneath the stronghold's towers through an adjacent Jaffa Gate. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.